Before we get started, I wanted to first plug a couple programs here at Kenyatta that are directly related to tonight's event. The first is the GE Pathways program. If you're pursuing a degree or transfer here at Kenyatta, which I assume most of you are, you know you have to take general education classes. And for some students, those classes seem like a drag. I see some nodding heads, actually. Okay? What we've done at Kenyatta is we've tried to contextualize those classes. We allow you to make a theme about those classes. We have two themes you can follow for your GE series. One is sustainability, and the other is social justice. So it doesn't involve taking any new classes, it just helps you pick GE classes that might fit your interest. Okay, so if you have interest in the GE Pathways program, you go to kenyattacollege.edu/GE Pathways, where you can contact me at any time. The other program that relates to today's event is our environmental science degree program. So those of you that are pursuing a STEM degree already, you might find that with one or two other classes, you can actually add on an environmental science degree as well. Okay? Or perhaps you're right now plugged towards going to biology or chemistry or engineering, and you decide you want to make a little shift to transfer it into an environmental science program. I can help you figure that out as well. Okay? All right, so that's my little plug. I'm going to actually let the panel here introduce themselves. So I will just, first of all, thank you all for coming. And if you could just briefly introduce yourself, your name, your job title, your employer, and the academic preparation that led to where you are.
Great, thank you, Susan. Hi, everyone. My name is Denise Lynn, and I work for the County of San Mateo Office of Sustainability in the Energy and Water team. And my title is Sustainability Coordinator, so I get to kind of work with cities and with other counties, with residents, with students, and it's an exciting place to be. Yeah, anything else?
How did you prepare for that? What was your academic preparation?
Yeah, so I got a degree in environmental science, which was interesting because it really was a broad degree and delved into a little bit of energy, a little bit of water, biology, and it kind of set the stage for me to do a wide variety of things. Yeah, so that's helpful.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Clark. I am also a sustainability coordinator with the County of San Mateo Office of Sustainability. I work primarily on energy efficiency programs, and I got an environmental science degree with a concentration in biology and a minor in physics, so lots of science, and that's prepared me pretty well for a career in sustainability.
Hey everybody, my name is Joe Fullerton. I'm the Energy and Sustainability Manager here at San Mateo County Community College District, so I get to oversee operational programs at Kenyatta College, College of San Mateo, as well as the Skyline College. I also teach in ASU's Master of Sustainability Leadership class online, and I get to work with students there to help hone their stories, which is really one of my fun little side gigs. The academic path that I took to get where I am today is quite circuitous. We don't have time to cover it. But 13 years in community college, as I was traveling around the country, building things and jumping off of cliffs as a skier, a mountain biker, and climber. And so after getting my bachelor's degree in business, focused on sustainable enterprise, I went ahead and continued and got my master's in sustainability leadership. And so I'm really glad to be here with you tonight, and thanks so much for spending your time with us.
Hi, my name is Georganne Morin, and I'm the STEM Center Project Director here at Kenyatta College. I know I've met some of you. And for those that I haven't, I'm going to do a quick plug for the STEM Center. For those of you who haven't been there, STEM Center taught at second floor, building 9 in the back, and we have all kinds of supports for students who are pursuing STEM majors and who are taking STEM classes. So if you haven't been there, I recommend highly that you come meet our wonderful staff and students and see how you can get involved. So I started many, many years ago. I was an environmental science major in my undergrad. And then my first jobs were in environmental education. And then I kind of veered more in the education realm. So I also have a teaching credential, multiple subjects teaching credential, which is for elementary school. And I have a master's in what is it? International Educational Administration and Policy Analysis. So I'll get more into like how that all happened, but I'm back in STEM, so here I am.
Great, thank you. So we have 3 environmental science majors here, and a business major. But in the real career world, people working in sustainability are going to come from all sorts of fields: biology, physics, engineering, social sciences as well. So that's an interesting thing about the field of environmental science. So the topic tonight is sustainability. So before we get too much into it, we should probably figure out what sustainability is and why we need to have discussions about sustainability, or why we need future professionals to study sustainability. I don't care who goes first.
So I think there's a lot of different answers to the question of what is sustainability, but I really liked one of the, I guess, kind of cookie cutter answers that I got from college, which is basically meeting the needs of the present without impeding the ability of any future generations to meet their own needs as well. And I think it's pretty obvious from what's going on in the world right now that we're approaching a point at which future generations are not going to be able to meet their own needs. Potentially living in a very hot, toxic environment where there's all sorts of animals that are extinct, all sorts of things like that. But I think there's also just a mindset of acting and behaving sustainably as just a way of life and a way of doing business on all sorts of different levels. And it takes a lot to get to the point of actually saying this is a sustainable practice, this is a sustainable business, this is a sustainable world. And I don't think you can have too many people working on that problem. There's so many different facets, from the baseline science of what's going on in the world to the high level, how are we going to implement the ways that are actually going to, how are we going to implement the policies that are actually going to change the world. So I think it's a really hugely broad field that can incorporate just about anything you're interested in. And so having as many people as possible working on it is super important.
So when I first heard that's from the Bronco that definition, and it's a really solid definition. It's paragraphs long beyond what Caitlin just described. I found it totally inadequate. One, because what are our present needs and what are the future needs? Most people don't know, right? And how can we assume that we can meet some future need? Also, needs are very basic, right? So if you're a psychology student, you might be thinking of Maslow's hierarchy of needs or something like that. I think that the future should be able to freaking thrive, right? We should be able to thrive. We should live in synergistic balance, ecologically, economically, and socially. And if we don't have synergistic balance, then of course we won't meet our needs. But even bigger, we won't have a chance to thrive. Right? So I like this definition, but it is the basis of sustainability. It is not the vision of sustainability. The vision of sustainability is to thrive in synergistic balance, to really try to achieve that. Will we ever get there? Maybe not, but it's a vision to strive for.
So I can't quote any definitions of sustainability. My experience was actually living it. My main job ever in sustainability was I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Senegal, West Africa, working on an environmental education project. And what I did is I worked with rural schools to develop environmental education lesson plans and activities that were all designed around sustainability. This was an area that had the desert encroaching, and in just years, the production, the main crop was peanuts, and the production had gone way down as the desert encroached. And so what I was working with the schools and the local communities on were various practices of sustainability. in order to help protect the environment there. So working on planting, we call them brise vent. They were trees, like a row of trees to help keep the winds from blowing the soil away. And so I want to contextualize because I think there's exciting things happening here, but there's exciting things around the world that you can get involved in that have to do with sustainability. And it all has to do with protecting our communities so we can thrive and flourish.
I think what I would just kind of get from everyone's contributions is that it's a theme of being proactive rather than reactive. And as we're seeing wildfires and flooding and all these events affecting the area that we live in right here, it's about kind of being proactive and having that power to influence the future rather than constantly feeling like you're reacting and you're kind of at the edge of your seat constantly. So I think that there's some sense of that in the definition of sustainability and kind of the need to get everyone at the table in order to come up with a solution that works. I think everyone has to be at the table, and that's something that we jointly need to come up with that not one person can come up with. But I think that's, it's important to have that inclusion aspect.
Yeah, just to build on that, I think that's part of the most exciting things that are going on right now in the environmental movement, personally, is the more inclusive nature and the melding together of social justice issues more with environmental issues. As an environmental science instructor, I have to also comment on this diagram. Those of you in my class know that. This is the typical diagram that we hear about with sustainability, that environmental sustainability, social equity, and economic sustainability all have to be present. And in the middle is the golden triangle where sustainability occurs, when all three of those are sustainable. I was looking forward to. But maybe a more advanced way of thinking about that now, and this is probably still in some of your biology textbooks, by the way, is to think which one of these is the most important. Maybe they don't all have equal footing. And a recent article in Science suggests that maybe we should think about the environment as our life-sustaining need or process here. We cannot live without it. So we typically now draw this as the biggest circle. Societies inside that can only survive if we have that life support system, and then economies are just a tool for societies inside. Is that what you're drawing over there?
So this is called the nested triple bottom line.
Yeah.
Right? So we have the ecology, which holds the economy, which holds us, essentially, right? Economy, ecology, and people, right? So if we start breaking this down, the ecology breaks everything down, right? Sorry, I think that's the only thing.
Sorry, we're just diverging a little bit, but great place to start, but more recent understanding, and also talking about what Joe said about thriving and Denise said about inclusiveness. We can build on this to make a more robust model. All right, so we have an idea what sustainability is. We kind of also like to know what you guys actually do in your jobs. A lot of times we have these career aspirations to be an engineer or some sort of biologist, but what do you actually do as it relates to sustainability in your current job? You want to start, Joe? Do you want to start this one?
Yeah, sure. I don't think I need the microphone if that's okay with you. Can everybody hear me all right? Well, actually, just before I walked in here, I was checking that the lighting system outside is working properly. It's kind of freaking out. Have you guys noticed that? There's like blinking happening and everything like that, so that's something I have to fix. I have an engineering brain. I do a lot of fixing and tinkering of things. It's one of the issues that I always had in school was that nobody could like give me something to actually like work on and like, put together or take apart. One of the reasons that I went into the construction field first out of high school. So I was doing that before I got here, but this afternoon I was working with the state agency on promoting renewable energy purchasing policies for the entire community college system in hopes that we'll turn all 114 colleges around the state into fully 100% renewable energy schools. And that would have a massive global impact on our greenhouse gas emissions. And then just this morning, I was having a one-on-one conversation with a student who was interested in potentially pursuing the field of sustainability. So my day is as varied as the problems that arise in daily life. Just whatever comes in.
Anybody else want to go next? Denise, go for it.
I might just add that I'm really fond of this campus because I actually used to work for the district, and I worked on sustainability here as a Green Office Program Associate. And if you think you saw someone who looks like me, like rummaging through the trash cans, it was me, because I was kind of helping with the zero waste, program a little bit and looking at the waste stream. So all of you guys who put, styrofoam in the composting, I see that. So I kind of took a route from initially working at the community college district in the facilities team and helping staff make their offices more sustainable through the Green Office program to where I am now. But I would say that my role kind of revolves around helping other people plug into what they can do and what impact they can have. So for example, I help cities with their climate action planning goals, and I'm able to connect them with kind of the technical tools that they need. I help them to do peer sharing with other cities. So that's kind of exciting because I get to see, as I was saying, instead of being reactive to what's happening with climate change, I'm able to work with cities to help them be equipped, whether it be with their buildings and helping to advance, zero net energy buildings that are more sustainable for the future, or to take, measures to get electric vehicle charging. That's all stuff that I'm excited to be able to be a part of with cities. And then I also work with residents. So with that piece, it's about getting the average citizen to care about something as technical as energy that's really intangible and that you just enjoy, but you don't really it's hard to appreciate the tangible aspect of that. So I work on a Bay Area-wide program called BayREN. There's a lot of acronyms, but it basically serves residents in giving them rebates for making upgrades on their home and making it more energy efficient. So it's that's the way to get them hooked in, is to kind of provide that discount and that financial benefit. So that's kind of one of the connections that I'm able to make. So I would just say that my role is kind of being a connector among different actors.
As I mentioned earlier, I primarily work on a program called the San Mateo County Energy Watch, focused on energy efficiency, and I am really enjoying my role because I get to work on a huge range of stuff. I do marketing the program, so I run our website and our newsletter, but that's just a tiny piece of what I do. I also get to work with numbers still, doing budgeting and invoicing and tracking of our programs. We just found out that our program cycle had closed at the end of December. We far surpassed our kilowatt hour savings goals, which was really exciting. But I also, kind of like Denise, am one of those connectors. So our program is changing a bit at the moment due to our funding stream, but for the past year and a half, I've been working with municipalities, so local government, city government, the county, with schools, mostly K through 12, with businesses and nonprofits, helping them to do energy efficiency upgrades. So our program has provided free energy audits and free technical services to a lot of these organizations. But also a lot of them don't always trust the technical people coming in, and so having someone from the local government say, no, I promise you it's real, is really helpful. So I get to sit in a lot of interesting meetings talking about building efficiency, stuff about lighting and the heating and cooling systems. And so it's a really wide range of stuff that I get to work on, and a really wide range of people that I get to work with and help serve and provide these services too, so I'm really enjoying that.
So I'm going to kind of build up to what I do on a daily basis. So as I mentioned, I graduated from college with an environmental science major. I had this much idea what to do with it. I just knew that it was a cool major because it was multidisciplinary and it really applied. I had gone into college thinking I was going to be an English major, but like I could not fathom what that had to do with anything in the world. But environmental science, that seemed really relevant, so that seemed fun. When I got out of school, I got a job with San Joaquin County Schools as a naturalist for science camp. How many people went to science camp? Anybody go to Jones Gulch Science Camp, San Mateo County? Oh, come on. Good Lord. Well, anyway, so what I did was I spent my days hiking around in the redwoods and showing 5th and 6th graders about nature. San Joaquin County Schools, a lot of the students had never seen the ocean, so it was really cool to be able to introduce students to nature and get them started thinking about what we're talking about when we talk about sustainability, when we talk about protecting nature. And that led me into education. I mentioned I went to Senegal, and then I came back and I decided to really pursue teaching. And I did that for a long time, and then realized that what I really liked doing was and I'd done this in Senegal, I really liked projects. I liked figuring out how to make things, take a big idea, and turn it into reality. And that's what I do in my daily job. So we came up with these ideas, we got these grants to have a STEM center and provide these programs for students. And my job is behind the scenes to make sure that all of those things happen. So I work with the team that's up in the STEM center and help to make sure they have the resources they need and everything that we can do to help students to reach their goals. So that's what I do.
I'm going to chime in as well. After getting my environmental science degree, what I first did was field work. So there are jobs in labs and in the field as well. I worked for the Forest Service, and I was a hydrology technician, and I did water sampling and working with miners and loggers to protect streams and that. So there's not only office connecting things or hands-on stuff like Joe's doing, but there's also lab and field jobs associated with this degree. You guys are all really optimistic about what you do. That's great, and the wonderful things you're doing. Sometimes when you think about environmental science, we think about the wildfires, the deforestation, species extinction, the drought, climate change, rising sea levels, the gloom and doom of it all. But I was pleased to see that you all look so excited about what you're doing and seeing all the opportunities instead. The next question, some of you already kind of looked at or answered, but what are some of the highlights of your professional work, or what you've accomplished, or what are you most proud of? If you want to go a different angle on that, you can highlight some of the challenges as well. But.
I guess I can start. I'll start by saying, if you don't stay optimistic, it's really easy to get depressed.
But there's a lot of reason for optimism, right? There's a lot going on, especially here in California.
Yeah, I mean, our office is now over 40 people strong, and it's less than 5 years old. There's a lot of passionate people, so it's easy to stay optimistic. As far as something that I've been really excited or proud of, in 2018, we realized we had a bit of a surplus of budget, and one of the biggest problems that I've been facing in the programs is engaging people. And with cities, the biggest problem is not so much that someone doesn't care, it's that they literally don't have the time. There's one person doing 3 people's worth of work. And so what we decided to do was put out a grant to basically fund staff time for city staff to do energy efficiency upgrades. And we had 12 cities and the county apply, and we ended up with, it was 11 cities completely committing to do energy efficiency upgrades. 7 of those actually completed the upgrades within the calendar year, and we ended up paying out, I think, $430,000 of grant funding, which felt really good. It was, finally allowing the people who were like, I know we need to be doing this. I know that, we, need to work on our facilities, not only to make them more comfortable and easy to work in, but also cities have climate action plan goals, and reducing greenhouse gases through energy efficiency helps achieve those goals. So it felt really good to be able to support over half the jurisdictions in this county in doing that.
And interestingly, that grant probably helps the cities themselves save money into the future, so it pays for itself.
Lighting upgrades often pay for themselves and just to
I
handle
don't
those
know if
years.
you use that terminology, but anyway, yeah, go ahead. Joe. Or Denise?
Yeah, I'll kind of go pessimistic and then optimistic. So I guess I'll highlight the challenge. I think in my role, I work with people who have different goals and kind of they're going on their path and they want to do what they want to do. So it's kind of like corralling these different people and getting them towards a common goal. I think, yeah, for example, there's some like policy initiatives that we want to work on that have to do with energy policy and kind of basically helping your like city go beyond what the state is requiring for how you use energy and helping it to kind of go beyond that mark. And it's interesting because you have like the people who are funding the project, you have the people who are affected by it, the residents, and then you have the people who are kind of the city level people. So I think sometimes they're like conflicting interests, and it's kind of the local government's role to make sure that you're serving your residents as the bottom line and everyone who lives and works in your region. So it's kind of keeping that your eye on the prize always and making sure that you're using everyone, because you're using public funds, right? So it's kind of that level of responsibility that you kind of have to take seriously and making sure that the project is you're directing the project in a good way. And then it's just hard, to get people to care about different issues. And as I was saying with energy, you kind of have to frame it in different ways because there's something for people who are working, that's not something that is necessarily the first thing that comes to mind. What they think about is if I go home and I, turn on the lights, will they be on? And like, will my stove work? So kind of going back to the different benefits that saving energy can have, like making your home more comfortable or saving on your bill. That's something that you can't really refute. So I think that's kind of how I try to address those challenges, but you always kind of come upon those. And then for sharing kind of a highlight, I guess I would just, I'm kind of like proud of the work of our county in general. And if you haven't been to the Half Moon Bay Library, that was newly built this last year. It's really amazing. It's built to be zero net energy, which means that the energy coming from the sun and being caught by the solar panels is designed to offset everything that the people use in the facility. And it's beautiful. There's so much light. It's just a gorgeous space to study and relax. So I would just enjoy that and kind of proud of that for our county.
And I just won an award, and you worked on that application.
The press release isn't out yet, but
Okay.
but it's out today. Yeah.
In terms of like physical projects, actually one of the ones that I'm really proud of is here on this campus. I was involved in the design, construction, and the implementation of the 1.25 megawatt solar farm that's out front of a beautiful campus that offsets about 50% of your annual demand of electricity. I was also responsible for replacing all of your exterior lights, some of which are a little bit coming funky right now. I do lots of stuff behind the scenes too. A lot of my work is on energy, but I do a lot of waste work. But one of the proudest things I'm most proud of has been a program that we developed at my office. Denise was actually part of it as a fellow, which trains the next generation of sustainability and energy superstars, or superheroes, if you will. And that's folks that are just coming out of their bachelor's or even master's level programs that haven't been introduced to the professional world yet, that are really situated and not quite situated in what they want to do, and getting them exposed to different opportunities. And in the world that I work in, the kind of facilities and real estate and workplace services world, there's a tremendous opportunity to make changes there and to have impacts. At the end of the day, my job is to enhance your learning environment. My job is to prepare this space so that you can be the best learner and student that you can possibly be. And so in so many ways, that fulfills me. In terms of the challenges, it is really hard to get, to be optimistic some days. Particularly when we have the technology, particularly when we have the know-how and the ingenuity, and we have the history of doing really fantastic things. But we just lack the decision, and we lack the moral aptitude and compass to make those decisions. So in those moments, it's not so much pessimism, it's frustration and anger. And I try to remember my martial arts training, and that energy that I feel can be redirected for something positive. So I do my little judo maneuvers with whatever negative emotions that I'm feeling, and I turn those into positive impacts in the world, because I have a 2.5-year-old. And if I don't, he is going to live in a hot, dry, nasty place. And I need to fix that for him.
So I would say I'm just proud to be part of the STEM Center. I've been here a little over a year, and I was very fortunate to come into an amazing space with amazing staff working there. And I truly believe in what we're doing because we're doing it for you, and you all are our future. If anyone's going to save us from this hot, dry world, it's you guys, so no pressure. But I would say, so the biggest challenge is the fact that I don't recognize a lot of you. And we have these amazing things in the STEM Center. We have supports that we know work for students. We have our EPIC tutoring. We have bus trips. We know that excites students and gets them ready for transfer. But figuring out how to make it accessible so all of you can take advantage of what we offer is our challenge. So I invite all of you, if you haven't been to the STEM Center, come up, talk to us, tell us how we can make it more relevant for you, because we're here to support you, and like I said, really, we're counting on you all to go out there and do great things in the world.
Yeah, I want to just build on that in that, yeah, every one of you should go stick your head in the STEM Center and see what kind of services they can help with. It's really, for a college our size, it's an amazing resource. And then going up to the district level, we have 2 district employees here. It'd be hard to find another district in the state, community college district, that is doing better with sustainability. I think in terms of our infrastructure, but also in terms of the opportunities for students and the leadership Joe is taking on training the next generation of sustainability leaders. And then if we branch out to our county, we have a couple county representatives here. Take a look around you when you get out into the world here tonight and the weeks ahead. The new library, the solar panels everywhere, the electric cars. I mean, it's amazing some of the things that are going on. Some of the startup companies around sustainability are amazing as well. So it's a pretty special place that we live in, and I encourage you to try to figure out how to leverage that for your own professional benefit.
Yeah, actually, can I put that into context for
Please.
one moment? So, who here is an international student? Okay, a few folks that have come from some other place in the world. I see a few nursing students in the room too. How about engineering, business, liberal arts, physical education? Okay. I'm just curious because, this place in the world, you can see Stanford and Oracle and Facebook and be on Google's campus in 15 minutes. There is almost no other place in the world that's like that. Where you can be in the ocean in the morning and in the mountains in the afternoon, where you can see the vibrance of so many different cultures. So those folks that have come from out of country to be here at Kenyatta College probably realize that somewhat better than us folks that have spent time here for a while, right? And so I just want to recognize that the space here at Kenyatta College and really throughout the district is really special in a lot of ways. So we're leading the community college system in California, which is the largest educational system in the nation, if not the world, depending on how you count it.
we're leading in that on both the academics and operational side. Right? So in that, we are a leader in that space. There is a tremendous opportunity for you to have impact. There's a tremendous opportunity for you not to have to wait until some future scenario where you will have a profession, but to do it now and here.
Thank you, Joe. All right, the next thing I wanted to kind of get into was how do students prepare themselves for these careers. So what sort of academic or professional preparation is needed to be in either your career or just sustainability careers in general? And then, as you see it, are there any high need areas in terms of training and skills? Or are there any particularly hot jobs that students should be looking towards?
Yeah, I'll kind of say that when I was in school, I feel like everything has changed since then. And so I guess the first thing is kind of being aware of how fast the field is changing and that you're in a wonderful situation to learn as much as you can, but probably the information is going to change as you go on, and that's okay, and you just kind of keep learning. And I think one good technique is just to, as Joe was saying, just use the resources around you, and one of those resources is people. So if you have, a parent who's working in a field that you're interested in, go ahead and talk to them or have your parent connect you. If you have a, mutual friend who's in a field that you're interested in, suggest getting in contact with them, because that's kind of the best way to see both the pros and cons of a position that you are interested in before delving right in and kind of, finding out the hard way. So I'd kind of, say that people are your greatest resource. And then, just kind of using the, taking up volunteer opportunities. Like all of you are situated here where there's a lot of volunteer, internship, other opportunities. And I understand that when you're on a campus and you're kind of one of many, it can be difficult it can feel difficult to access those, but if you kind of spend the time and mine those resources, that'll really pay off. It'll kind of help you test out what you like and don't like. And I feel like getting to the place you want is kind of finding out, ruling out the things that you don't like. Like some people are able to beeline directly and know from birth, good for you, and just go straight ahead. If that's you, that definitely wasn't me, and I was kind of ruling out things as I went along in my career. I went to a nonprofit, and then I was like, this is interesting, but not what I want to do. So I kind of, ruled that out and went to local government, and it definitely took me a little bit. So, yeah.
I'm going to just jump in right on that. Internships and getting involved is super important in any career field, but especially I think in environmental or sustainability. And the most important thing is to do it. It doesn't matter if it's the perfect job or the perfect internship or if it's paid or any of that. It's to get the first one, because that on your resume is going to help you get the second one. And also in that first one, you might be doing one task, but you're going to be interacting with a whole range of professionals. So you're going to see what you like, what you don't like, that sort of thing. So just getting involved is super important. I think Joe mentioned that earlier too.
I'll kind of tag on with the internships and stuff. One nice thing about being an intern is you're there to learn. You're there to gain the experience. And so if you are interested in something, I guess as long as whoever you're interning with is nice and helpful and wants you to succeed, you can say, hey, I heard you mention this thing. Can I sit in on those meetings? Or, you said that there's this task that needs to be done. That's something I'm really interested in. Can I work on it? And being proactive about the stuff that you want to grow in and the stuff that you're interested in, or even just trying out different things, is super helpful. I gained a lot of my skills and a lot of my experience just by saying, wait a second, hey, can I maybe work on that, please? And being an advocate for yourself is really important. I knew pretty early on that I wanted to be in the environmental world. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, and I never actually really thought I'd end up in energy efficiency. But I kind of figured out early on that an environmental science degree would set me up really nicely for pretty much anything I wanted to do, because it's so interdisciplinary, but also it gave me a strong grounding in understanding the sciences, being able to work with data, which is not something I do every day, but is something I do a lot. And having that comfort with kind of the science behind, both everything from like the broad climate change down to, a bit of understanding with engineering of how building systems work, but also understanding the societal impact and the impact that society can have on these different issues. Having such a broad-reaching degree has really served me well, because I didn't really want to go into the field work and doing that kind of on-the-ground research. I had a few advisors in college. You should conservation biology. Yeah, you should do it. But having kind of that broad degree has been really good with helping me figure out exactly what I want to do, because I don't think I want to be in energy forever, but it's allowed me to kind of branch into these different pieces and kind of explore the world of explore the environmental world, just because I have this really nice broad base. But also, if you know what you want to do, go for it.
So I echo what has been said about environmental education or environmental science being such a broad field. It could lead to many, many things, and I just happened into environmental education, which just sparked the idea that I loved education. I didn't know that before. And so what I think is great about careers and a journey is that everything makes sense one step away. Like your one job, the next job makes sense because you took this part of it that interested you and then you found this, and it's all stepping stones and it eventually leads around. And the funny thing was, I came here to interview for this job, and I thought, my biggest strength I bring to this is I've done work with federal grants, so I know how to do that, and that's what they're going to really like. And when I interviewed, the Dean Stringer at the time, she says, yeah, it's great that you have that experience. What we really like is that you have an environmental science background. And honestly, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot about that. So you never know how things are going to lead and how they're going to go around. And you just have to trust that one thing's going to lead to another. And like they said, you'll eliminate some things, but you'll latch on to some things.
So how many of you just go to school, don't do anything else? No hands. When I was in my community college, early in my career, I grew up poor. I was working maybe 3 jobs. My grandfather was living with us. He was dying. And so taking an extra, I'm sorry, I was emotional. Taking an extracurricular thing, I think I actually gave teachers a big finger when they asked me to do extra credit and why I wasn't showing up to class and stuff like that. So I just want to recognize that is really challenging and difficult. So it's incumbent upon folks like me who've had that experience to understand that we actually have to reach back into the classroom, to the places where you are, and to the places that you can be, and to the places that are priority for you in your communities and so forth. And so that's really important to me. Of course, it's really nice to be able to take the time and do extracurricular activity and to have internships and things like that. Those are super important, they are. And after I was able to develop a little bit and that situation, after my grandfather passed away, I was able to have a little bit more time, and I was able to do some internships. Actually, I was a machinist, right? I was a builder, and I just figured, my grandmother, we were so poor, we saved everything, every plastic bag, every piece of tinfoil, every piece of wax that to wrap sandwiches in for the day, right? So when it came to building things, people would throw stuff away. I'm like, we can use that. That's a perfectly good piece of material. What are you doing? And then 10 years into that, I was a green builder because I wasn't throwing stuff away. People were like, wow, that's brilliant. You can use that piece of material to do that. That looks cool. Can you make that happen over here? And then pay me a lot of money to do it. I was like, suckers. It was waste. I was going to throw that, some other jerk would have thrown that away. Right? So I think the beauty here, in the field of sustainability is that there are so many challenges. The beauty is that each one of those challenges holds an immense amount of opportunity. And all you really have to do is be stubborn, be persistent, and be curious. And if you're stubborn, persistent, and curious, the world will lay out in front of you. If you're stubborn, persistent, and curious, things will happen. If you're a good human being and you're nice to other people, guess what? You're going to build connections, and those connections are going to help you be stubborn, persistent, and so forth, right? So I think, the things that you learn in school are going to be super valuable. The connections are going to be even more valuable. But that curiosity, that stubbornness, that persistence, the thing that drives you in the morning, the passion that you feel, the interest that you have, the skills that you know you're good at, focus on those. And be stubborn, persistent, and curious.
Beautiful. Good job. That's a great ending on that one. Just have time probably for one more question here. So this speaker series is geared towards STEM students, but obviously we have a lot of students that aren't necessarily identifying as STEM students here. And I was just going to open it up in general. Joe's already gotten us a little started on that, but just general advice you have for students as they're working through transfer and choosing a degree in that. I think you've already commented on that, a lot of you, but if anybody else has anything they want to add to that.
I have a quick comment on the job searching process, which I know many of you are already working as you're studying, so maybe that's something that you've gone through. But I just wanted to note to kind of know your value, and that just because you haven't entered a field and you don't have a line item on your resume, that doesn't mean that you don't have value. And I feel like a lot of, me myself, like when I entered the workforce and I felt like I kind of just had to take everything that came my way, like no matter how much I didn't like the position, or like if my manager wasn't good to me, not you, Joe. But I kind of felt like you just kind of had to take, all of that. But I think as much as your financial situation allows, to really allow yourself flexibility if you are able to. And it's okay if you kind of jump into a first job and you find that you really hate it and you can't go on, and you would rather just take time off and, work, and then, I don't know, whatever you might do to kind of pay your rent and study. That's great. And it's, there's no cookie cutter way to kind of get where you want to go, and you don't have to take everything that comes your way. Like, you can still be selective.
Yeah, I think this has been pretty easy for me, but doing and pursuing what makes you really excited, what keeps you curious, you will be happiest in life if you're pursuing a career or working on something or studying something that you're actually really excited about. It's really, it's sometimes easy for me to say, oh man, I hate going to work, but I realized kind of early on that it's not actually going to work that I hate. I actually really love the work that I do. I've got to drive an hour in the morning to get to work, and I don't like getting up early. So I think, making sure that you're doing what makes you excited. And that'll come through when you are interviewing, when you're writing your cover letters and resumes, when you're working and doing your coursework and in your classes. It'll come through to the people you're interacting with. And I think that's one of the biggest helping characteristics that I've had is pursuing this environmental science to sustainability career. And also, I think there's a lot of people that I know, especially, who decided that they were just going to go right on to a master's degree or something. And I think that there are a lot of fields where that makes a lot of sense, like engineering. If you're going to go right into engineering, sometimes that makes a lot of sense. But getting some perspective in not only the classroom but also the workforce afterwards. I thought I would really love doing this, but it turns out I actually really hate it. And kind of doing that before you kind of throw yourself full force at at something. And like Denise said, exploring and figuring out, do you really like this? Do you actually need it? Is really helpful too.
So I guess if we're doing like advice.
Do you want some unsolicited advice today?
All right, we're ready to give you. No, I'd say what pops into my mind as far as it has to do with passion, it has to do with what interests you, and going back to the idea of, going for something, even if you don't think you have the skills you need at the moment, or, you have the right resume for it, or don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Go into something that's challenging and exciting. Know that there's going to be problems. I mean, I have this idea in my mind that I want the perfect day. I come to work and there's no problems and nothing goes wrong. It's not going to happen. So you got to embrace those and just say, okay, it's going to happen, but it's challenging, and the really cool stuff is really, really cool. And when something goes really right, it's really exciting. And that's my advice. I've gone into things thinking, oh, I'm going to do this because it seems really safe. And you know what? Safe is usually boring. So don't do that. Go out there, find something exciting, go for it, and just enjoy the whole process.
We got just a couple minutes left. Joe, you want to finish
I
this
won't
up?
give you any unsolicited advice. Let's hear some questions.
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
So Denise, I heard you say earlier zero waste, and I was wondering if you could touch on that and define it and why it's important.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, my brain is churning quickly. So also I would welcome any additions to just so I'm not kind of taking full responsibility. But I think for me, the definition is kind of minimizing the things that can't really break down over a long period of time. So kind of minimizing what you're using, and also being aware of how the thing that you're using kind of goes back to the earth. So I think that's my impression of zero waste, and kind of the ways that it manifests itself can be in the bins that you see on campus. It can be in kind of using reusables. It can be in, kind of being mindful of what you're purchasing, or it can even be on a larger scale on kind of the responsibility of corporations and what they produce. And what was your second question?
Why is it important?
Why is it important? So I think, I would open it up to everyone too, I guess we can go, so if we think about the nitty gritty and about the emissions that come from waste, so landfill creates methane, and that, causes global warming, so that's kind of a bigger picture. But it's also about, how we use the land around us. And I know that, so the landfill, Oxmountain landfill is near here, and it's almost at capacity. And so thinking about, that's something that's just, a few miles away from here. So like the beautiful land that you're seeing, when something goes to landfill, it's not going somewhere far away. It's like in your neighborhood. So that's something that if it becomes a big problem, it could, leach into the water supply. It can, kind of wreak other sorts of chaos on kind of the environment that you live in. So I think, I guess there's a lot of ways to think about zero waste, but just thinking about kind of the ways that we produce and use things, and the fact that when something is thrown away, it's not kind of a fairy takes it away, but it just goes back to the earth that we're living on.
I'm actually going to cut it off because I know some students have classes this evening. So if you're interested in asking more questions of our panel, I think I could probably say most of them are willing to stay. I encourage you to come up and introduce yourself. This is the connection building opportunity with these folks. And then also remember to sign in or scan in, as the case may be. And let's actually give our panel here a little round of applause. Thank you all.